Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornancin, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. Welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I'm excited, thrilled, humbled, honored, and thankful to have with me today one of the top sales development leaders at the Sales Development Summit Awards, the guy that ran sales development at Zenefits, who's now headed over to lead sales development at Plastiq. Juliano Sarinelli, what's going on? Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited about this. Thank you for bringing me on. I feel very humbled by this, and hopefully some of your listeners and readers can get some tidbits and experience from what I have to say.
Yeah, man. So I know, you just got done managing a team of helping, coaching, and driving a team of like over 30 sales development reps at Zenefits. You're now headed over to Plastiq, which I'm excited to dive into. And then the audience, the purpose of this show, the audience wants to know two things. Who is Juliano Sarinelli? What's your background? How'd you get started in sales? Where'd you work at? What did you learn at each place in sales that you worked at? And then lastly, your top sales secret. If you could go back in time to when you first started in sales, if you had to hire someone and give them one sales tip, one secret to help them maximize their sales success, what would that be? But let's get started with, dude, tell me about who you are, your background. I know the audience is eager to learn more.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit about me. I mean, I guess in the reference of sales, I'd have to start off with that. Juliano's born and raised in the city. A lot of people always ask me, how do I get the knowledge? How do I have all these little things? I'm born and raised in San Francisco. It's a hard city. You got to be a
shit.
There's a reason why we call it the sucker free for a reason, because you can't be a sucker out here. You really do have to hustle all the time.
What is the slogan? Sucker free?
Sucker free.
That's awesome.
People in the know, that's what we used to call it, among other things. Always the city, never San Fran, sometimes Frisco. But it's one of those things that really molded me and really gave me a lot of character with sales, because you're always running into people who are always trying to trick you, it's kind of very much like that New York attitude.
Yeah, I lived in New York for 2 years, so I could totally relate.
Yeah, people always say, you sound very East Coast, you look very East Coast. And I guess that's that big city attitude where you're always skeptical of what's going on, but then you also realize that you need to give a certain amount of you need to give as well as get. So that's kind of, I guess, lays the foundation and the base. Where my first sales experience started was actually in selling tires.
Nice.
Fun of me for
super sexy.
Yeah. It started with a company out here called it's actually owned by Bridgestone. It's Wheelworks and Firestone. I worked at those companies for about a little off and on for about 4 years.
Is Firestone's that's headquartered in Cleveland, right, or Akron, or no?
Yeah. So Wheelworks is headquarters out here. I think it's in Akron, Firestone.
Yeah, but, I'm from Cleveland, and so LeBron James and I are best friends. It's got nothing to do with tires.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Firestone was a great company. Those were great companies for me, and I truly.
How'd you get started with that, man? Like, so did you, okay, so you grew up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had 17 jobs in 1 year, one time.
7 jobs?
17 jobs.
What?
Yeah, I would
before the tire thing?
Yeah, before the tire thing, I would keep on going from jobs to job to job right out of high school. I would just continue to try to find a job because I say, I'm not getting paid enough. Back when minimum wage was like $7 an hour.
And you can't survive in San Francisco on $7 an hour, right?
I was paying $1,600 a rent at the time. And yeah, you need money in the city. So
what were some of the jobs that you worked at?
I did a lot of different security jobs.
You look like a guy that would do Arrgh.
Yeah, there was not those fun. Yeah, I had a couple offers to do those busboy jobs, bartender, waiter. I had a couple places where I was offered to do, so many different things. Random valet. I had 4 different valet jobs. Worked
Wow.
at a couple dealerships doing valet. Gelato. That was my first job at a gelato place. It was actually really good. You got a lot of free sorbetto, which would really hype you
Dude,
up.
I worked at a Dairy Queen at a mall before, so I mean, I hear you. I did that like
At a candle shop in the mall. Most relaxing job.
I
Very.
loved working at the mall. I was like 14, 15. I mean, dude, I loved it.
Yeah, it was fun. Um, Worked at a lot of those places, and then I got a security job. And actually, I've been married for 12 years now. I got married right out.
Congrats.
Thanks. My father-in-law worked at he's a mechanic. He's been a mechanic his whole life, and he told me, he said, "Hey, you're really good at sales. Why don't you come and ask at the place that I'm working at, because these are entry-level sales jobs, but you can make a lot of money, surprisingly, off of tires." And I did. I applied. I actually applied thinking that I wanted to learn more about cars and be a tire guy. And the guy looked at me at one time. He said, "Look, you talk way too much. You need to be in sales."
Ah,
This gentleman who hired me, I'm not going to say names, he was simultaneously the worst manager I'd ever worked for in my life, and also one of the best mentors of my life ever.
because he was so bad?
He was so, we used to call him Genghis Khan. Like, he would rule the world, like the shop with an iron fist. And this guy was so bad. On his first day, he would like go in the bathroom for like 45 minutes, do whatever he got to do, and then the first sales guy to come out, say, "You have to clean it." And then
Oh, dude, that's messed up.
yeah, he was one of those kind of guys. I did
That's
a good
not
job
right.
because I had the work ethic that I had was, I guess, really, really good, because I wanted to prove myself. And he was like flabbergasted, a word I won't use that much, but he couldn't understand how I did such a good job. And he was like, "Wow, like you need to do this every day." And I was like, F my life. Now I'm this guy's personal janitor as
Oh
well as
God.
unfair. But I learned so much from that guy. I ended up doing really good as a sales tech. You move in like the way in the tire world, in the service world, automotive. You work
Yep.
as a tire salesman, then you work your way up to service up to management level. I ended up being a man.
Only and all those positions you're only allowed to sell the tires. You can't like sell cars or anything. This is just a tire shop or
Well, so as a tire tech, when you come on, you sell tires, and then you move on to service. So you can sell pretty much anything.
got it.
You're a manager. You do B2B work, which is the next place I went to. But this gentleman, I'll just have to say this: that he taught me that every single time you're on the phone, every single time that you're in person, it's showtime. And
I
to
love
this,
that. It's
I'll never.
showtime.
He used to say, I don't care if your mom just died. I don't care. Don't come into work then. If your girlfriend just left you, if you stub your toe, you owe it to the customer when they come in. It's showtime. You need to be happy. You need to be nice. Um, he was one of the
It's
best customers.
showtime, dude. I love that. I love that. I wish more people followed that methodology, man. That's I try to follow that every day when I go into work. That's awesome.
It's and he really believed it, and it was. And I always truly believe, and I tell this to my reps nowadays too. It's the same thing: is that there's always an internal battle between being the best version of yourself and staying true to yourself. Some people find that it's kind of hard to go in between.
Yep.
I felt that this guy was true. He really actually was excited to talk to the customers and really probably get their money was mostly excited him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was actually legitimately happy. He just happened to be a huge jerk with us all the time.
Weird.
But
That's no
I
way to
learned
motivate, but
so much in such a short amount of time that when I made a switch, I moved. I went over because he was a horrible boss. So eventually, people just started kind of wanting to leave. I went over to Firestone. That's where I ended up doing service. I became a
okay.
service manager. Ended
Sweet.
up being the manager of that store. It was only 2-3 blocks away, actually. And that's where I really got into a higher degree of sales, not just selling tires, but selling service, going in and looking at cars, looking at at vehicles and telling people like, "Hey, this part of this car that you'll never actually tell whether or not it's wrong, and that you can't pronounce it, and you'll have no idea whether or not I actually fixed this. I need you to trust me and pay $4,000 to fix this. Keep in mind, you have no idea that it's wrong right now, and you won't even be able to verify that I did this." That's that taught me the ability of trust. You don't build trust, you're just a cashier.
Wow.
You don't build trust, you're just a cashier. Cashiers say yes or no. Do you want to supersize that? Do you want to get the option?
Right.
Salespeople argue. Salespeople teach. And they'll actually be like, hey, you need to trust me. I'm an expert. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. That's what that role taught me. And possibly, one of the
Like
large
earning trust. Like, so that role taught you to like how to get trust, how to earn trust, how to like connect with the buyers, essentially.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
awesome. What were some of the techniques to do that? Just because.
Being ridiculously transparent, just being very honest with people and saying, hey, you can go down the street if you want. You don't have to do this. I mean, in all intents and purposes, maybe you shouldn't do this. But if you do want to do this, I guarantee you that at the end of the day, I'm going to be here walking you through the whole thing, and I'm going to make sure that it gets done the right way. I believe that when people are transparent with you, that they're ready to hold your hand and go through the interaction together, as opposed to many, 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 many other people who are trying to force it upon you. I believe that if you look for the person, you'll get the sale. If you look at the sale, you'll never get the person, and the person is the one who, pushes the button, pulls the trigger. You have to look at the person. You have to look at the prospect, the client. That's what that really taught me. And as well as management. At that time, I was managing 3 other sales members and 15 techs, which if you've ever worked,
wow. 3 salespeople and 15 techs, huh?
that's they're like, if people think that like people in sales are like prima donnas, wait until you work with mechanics. It teaches you a lot. So for me,
What is like, just because I'm envisioning like working at a body shop and I see the mechanic, 15 mechanics is a lot. Like, how do they act?
Just imagine a salesperson's temper with a wrench that could kill you. You don't want to get them angry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and you have to really, they're also like affecting people's lives. So if somebody's not up to par, you need to be like, hey, you don't look like you're good. Take the day home. Because one little misstep, they don't torque something up right, someone's wheels come off, they die. So
wow.
It allowed me to really understand the idea of triage and toggling. When I mean triage, I still say, this is something I say to the reps all the time. You have 10 things you need to do today. What are the most important 4 things you need to do? What are the things that are going to directly affect your KPIs? Hopefully what you're aligned with the company, what you're actually getting paid with. And then I think even more importantly, what are the things that you actually need to do? What are the most important for your customers and for yourself? And toggling, allowing you to toggle between speaking to your team members and speaking to your prospects. So whether or not that's sales or mechanics, and also being able to speak to a mechanic and speaking to a prospect or a customer is very, 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 very different. And that was a little bit more kind of I exacerbated in that role. So when I was able to do that, going to a tech role was a lot easier because I didn't have to. The jargon wasn't as heavy. Most people will know at least a little bit about HR jargon. Most people know a little bit about tech jargon, or at least some internet lingo, as opposed to
right.
Pipe or drums versus discs. People are like, I don't know, just fix it. Or I don't know, you're just screwing me over. So
you learn the trust stuff really quickly. You learned also, it sounds like, not only trust with the customer but also trust with the team. Yes. Like how to trust and manage the 10 to 15 different technician personas, which have a wild personality of their own. Yeah. And then the 3 to 4 sales managers. And then like after doing that, after working in the SMB and accounts as a sales manager, did you just get sick of it after? Like what made you decide to say like, okay, I got to move on to something different outside of tires, or what happened?
Well, so what happened is when I became a manager there, once you become a manager, you're allowed to actually do B2B work. So calling into auto body shops.
Versus like waiting for people to come into the shop.
Yeah, versus waiting. I actually instituted
like inbound versus outbound.
Yeah, I also instituted a cold calling. We would call all of our closed loss people from a year, 2 years ago, which I didn't realize at the time was very SDR-ish of me.
Smart. Yeah. It's funny. We're just launching that campaign right now. I'm like, hey, blitz everyone. Anyone close loss right now, blitz.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised that people want to know that they're special and that you're going to want to earn their business. Everybody knows that it's a dance, but just like at the prom, you got to come ask me. I'm not going to come ask you. So that's the kind of the way that it goes. But going to the B2B side, when I would call into body shops and dealerships and different shops that would need help, I enjoyed that a portion of it, and it definitely became more prestige. I realized that I wanted to go into tech. It was a great time, so I actually went back to school. I didn't go to college right out of high school. If you're from the city, it's extremely expensive, and most people just it takes a long time. It took my wife 10 years. It took me 6 years to do it. I did it in 4 because those 2 years I took a break. So right after I left Firestone, I went to school, did Uber pretty much to get me through.
Like at night or whatever?
I would do it all the time, just very much just like any other Uber or Lyft driver.
Now, Uber in San Francisco, do you make a lot more than like other cities?
When you first started, you did. I thought, I was like, why be a surgeon when you can make $100 an hour doing Uber? I thought to myself, why am I going to school?
Oh my gosh.
It was at one point the outside lands or.
So you could make like $100 an hour working for Uber driving.
You could. It was the Wild West.
Wow, dude. And was that right when Uber came? So it's not like that anymore?
Yeah. I mean, it's so dramatically different. For some reason, I still feel like when I take an Uber, it's still expensive. But
right?
I know, towards the end, I wasn't making almost any money, and I was just hemorrhaging left and right. So I only had to work at the top hours. But yeah, it was real. It was a time. You definitely also learned a lot more about bedside manner, speaking with folks. Maybe one of the things that happens to people when they get confined in a car all day is they overshare. That's one thing you'll find about taxi people. They're like, oh, don't you know my problem? Look at these stoplights. And then the person in the car is like, I just keep on talking about stoplights, man. Like,
that's funny.
It's one of those things that you start to realize, and that's that subconscious psychological, like, okay, why am I doing that? Oh, because I'm stuck in a car all day and I have no outlet and I can't talk to anybody. So I feel like I learned a lot from that as well. Going to school at the same time, I went to SF State for urban planning, which was a fun degree, completely not relevant to what I do. But at the same time, you learn a lot about debating. You learn a lot. I mean, I've sold things to people talking about urban planning theories and policies on the phone.
Wow.
Talking about random things, but
what is urban? What is that? Like for the audience that doesn't know, and I don't even know. Like, what does that mean?
It's basically the people who in your urban planning department decide like where streets get made, how they get made.
Oh wow. Okay, like you're planning like towns, cities, streets, the whole.
It's like city and municipal planning building, but at the same time, like a lot of geography, figuring out like it's the intersection of sociology and, kind of, I guess, in engineering and architecture. So it really, it's fun and it's impactful. It's very,
so you went there and then so you studied there, right? And then, so you wrapped up your degree in urban planning.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, now I got to figure out what to do. I'm not doing Uber anymore. I'm done with urban planning, studying. What happens next?
Yeah, so actually before I was done, I actually did a 6-month internship at City Hall, which was very eye-opening for me.
Okay.
I worked at the city, and actually it was
like
free.
For the city of San Fran.
Yeah. So it was actually for a supervisor, as the district supervisor of District 3 North Beach, where I grew up. A lot of fun, like creating briefs and creating arguments for $1 billion budgetary.
For the city that you said, what was the beginning comment? The
sucker free.
Sucker free for sucker free city, huh? That's funny. So so you said $1 billion. What were you doing for the billionaire?
So like the city, like runs and does all these briefs, and you're preparing all these documents and doing all this research. Some of the, like the budgetary constraints on Muni and some of the other parts, they're around like $1 billion. So as kind of somebody who's in sales, who's with maybe like a, like an ACV of like, 30K or 20K, or even if SMB, sometimes the deal is like 3K, $1 billion or several million, 100 million, even though I wasn't directly affected, really profoundly affected me and let me know that at the end of the day, you're still making decisions. Doesn't matter how large it is. There's more players involved, but you definitely, it's getting people to like you. Being able to do community organization.
When you say getting people to like you, so when you're selling these these $1 billion budgets or whatever, was it just like working with the DMs like of the city to like, let's go through that deal.
Like a supervisor would say, hey, I want you to prepare this brief. They'd give me all the information so my legislative aides can have it. Go down to this office, go down to that office. Like the friendlier you are, the faster you can go, get across the bureaucracy. Just like as an SDR, being able to call and trying to get to the DM, and the first person you call is possibly, a gatekeeper who doesn't want to let you get through. You need to learn those skills to be able to get through. And that's what those taught me, being able to know that no matter what, you need people to like you. And
you got to become likable. And how do you think, like, what's the fastest way to get someone to like you think, in sales?
I believe being yourself, being
like authentic,
over enthusiastically ambitious about being yourself, being transparent, and being super dynamic. I think I'll save that for my sales secret at the end.
Awesome.
That's kind of my secret.
Cool. I love that.
So I'll transition after that. It was fun. It was great.
Hold on. That enterprise deal. So do you think, are all deals the same? Like, would you say that $1 billion deal is like the same as like 100,000 ACV to a 3,000 ACV? Like, are you doing the same thing in all of them, or do you think like, no, they're totally different?
I think that they're all the same. It's just that there's more bureaucracy that goes on. The higher it goes, the more bureaucracy, the more people need to get their hands shaked. And
got it. That's good to know. So instead of like, if it's a small ACV with SMB and trying to get the deal signed with just one person, at the farther you go up, it may be 3, and then 5, and then 10, and then 20, and then so you just got to do the pony show 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 times.
You have to have more longevity. You have to be, it's more
like a marathon.
More marathon. People always say marathon. I always think of it as HIIT, more like the high intensity training.
Yeah, dude, I love HIIT. I do HIIT every day.
Sprints, and then jogging, and then sprints and jogging.
Yeah.
It can feel a lot like a sprint.
I do hits in 45 seconds, so I totally relate.
Yeah, that's where it's at, and I truly believe that's very much what a lot of sales is like.
So you're moving on. You're done with that experience. What made you decide to be like, okay, I'm out. I'm ready for the next thing?
I wasn't getting paid at all.
It was free?
It was a free internship. I actually lost money because I had to pay for parking next to City Hall, which was quite a bit. So I mean, I learned quite a bit. I learned a lot. But
you got to make money.
Yeah, got to make money. So did Uber for a little bit while longer after that, and then my wife had actually been working at Zenefits.
Oh, nice.
For a while, and she told me like, "Hey, you're just about to be done. Why don't you apply to be an SDR? I mean, things aren't going the best here right now for the sales team, but like we always talk, I'm like, hey, I've never not been the best at what I do, ever. So let's do it." I went in, interviewed.
Okay.
And
this was right, like, not to talk a lot about this, but this was like when all the drama was going down, right?
Yeah.
With Zenefits and like the culture stuff. They were just going through some dynamic changes as a company. And so you're coming in and like a weird time, right?
Yeah. It was definitely a time of transition. There was a lot of moving parts going on, so it wasn't, for other people it wasn't the best, but for me it was a good time. I mean, there's really no sugarcoating it. When I came in, everybody was doing not so good. Average quotas were about like 10 to 15 to 20%. Some folks would hit every once in a while. For a vast majority of the time, people wouldn't. When I came in, I was 200% pretty much almost every month after my ramp month, all the way up until, I stopped being an IC. And everybody was always like very shocked because when I came in, I was very rough around the edges. I wasn't from an Ivy League. I didn't have.
Those are some of my favorite people to hire.
Right? Like I was super rough around.
Hustle, man. Hustle and
Yeah.
hard work. Like,
So to me, that's kind of one of the things I always talked about. People always ask me like, Juliano, like, what do you define as why you did good? And a couple things. I mean, I wouldn't call it, my biggest secret. I would think of it call it an ideology. When I hire people, I also explain to them, I believe that success is driven from hustle. What do I believe hustle is? I believe that hustle is two parts. One part hard work, the other
yep.
part
The other part, hold on. One part hard work, the other part
is finesse, character, right? I'll explain. Hard work can get you in a lot of places. But I've known people who are 80, 90 years old, hardest workers I've ever seen, 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, not really getting anywhere. Hard work, if you just have hard work alone, you're like a donkey. You're trudging up and down the hill, but nobody's going to remember you, right? You're just the burro going up the Grand Canyon.
You're like a donkey. I love that.
Right? If you have finesse, you have that character, you have that swagger, that debonair kind of attitude. You like just like, I mean, I wouldn't call you a top athlete yet, because that's what when you have both, you're kind of more of a movie star. Do you have that hard work though? Right now, you may be able to have hard work and build that finesse, but it takes a long time. And I'm sure you've met people, whether or not you've played sports, and they just were, as they say, God-gifted talent. They just have a lot of talent and they have an ability about them, but they don't put that hard work in. I call those the Fabergé eggs. All style.
I got lucky. One of my best friends in high school was that. Super smart, didn't have to study. He would get straight A's. I would study for weeks. I'd get B's. And then we go to college, and I graduate in 3 years and launch two multi-million-dollar companies, and he takes 7.5 years to graduate college because he was super smart and talented, but then didn't do shit with it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I truly believe that, I'm going to use another, this is going to be an equine relation. I don't know why. I had a girl one time. She was fascinated by horses. So I believe that's the show pony, right? Like if you're all about finesse, you're the show pony.
Okay.
Now, if you bring the donkey's hard work and the show pony's style and flair, what you get in the middle is a stallion.
Nice. Right? The stallion.
Stallion. I mean, it could have been because I'm Italian, the Italian stallion. I don't know.
I'm Italian, so I appreciate that.
It just happened. So just deal with it a little bit.
Yeah.
But stallion is just like a top athlete, right? Like when I think of like that, I think like I think of like Marshawn Lynch, right? Somebody who's going around and doing that hard work, but really, really has that style, that flair, that little bit of whip, that stallion who's running around the corners, has that hard work, but is putting that little extra stride into it. When they say like, any type of thing done well, the follow through.
Yeah, I think of LeBron James when you talk about that, but it could be because I'm from Cleveland and Akron.
Yeah, right. Right. You think of that star, and because they have that attitude.
Kobe Bryant, hard work plus hustle plus finesse. Yeah. I think of Tom Brady. I mean, I don't know if you like Tom Brady. Like I don't favor any sports team. I just like to study these athletes.
Yeah, me too. I'm more of a fan. I don't have any individual teams that I follow. I like individuals themselves.
Yeah, same here.
Contributions. I find that fun. But I truly believe that hustle is hard work and finesse put together.
And then how do you? So when you're like hiring these people, and I mean we'll get into before we get into the hiring, which we'll talk about at Zenefits, everyone's going to say like, well, how did you outperform the 30 reps, right? So you said it takes hard work, it takes finesse. Like what else did you do over the few years, to get to the top?
So I guess, I mean, it would take a little bit of divulging my secret, but I'll go for it. Being extremely random. And I know that sounds so weird.
And okay, hold on. Are we getting into the sales secret? Because if we are, I got to preface it.
No, it's a kind of
a preface to the secret.
Being extremely random.
Okay.
Was one of my secrets. I have a sales methodology that I believe, and I'm going to say it, and you're just going to laugh and think I'm an idiot. It's called the.
Dude, I don't think anyone's an idiot, man. You can learn from everyone. Okay, say it again.
Pineapple sales theory.
Pineapple sales theory. Okay. What does pineapple stand for?
No, literally pineapples.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. The reason why is that when I would talk to folks, we would mention things, and I would give people analogies all the
I
time.
love analogies, dude. Easy to
Right.
remember.
Yeah, it's the analogy. The point of an analogy is being able to take something super complex and being able to make it simple for people to understand. Not everybody understands jargon. So one time I spoke to a lady. We were talking about payroll. She asked about, I want something that's very simple to use, but I want to be able to use this as an admin in a very robust way. And I said, look, have you ever watched, those YouTube videos of life hacks? And she says, yeah. I was like, you kind of know, like, MacGyvering things, like, look at this paper clip and look at this piece of bubble gum. You don't think you can do anything. Next thing you know, there's a parachute. Yeah. It's just like one of those videos where you see a pineapple, super simple. But then through the art of fruit origami, it looks like Princess Diana after 4 minutes. You get on this demonstration and they'll show you how to do that. Your people will be able to see and use this tool very simply, like being able to eat a pineapple. But you being able to admin, being able to have these skills will be able to make all this, edible arrangement fruit. And the point is, it caught her so off guard, and she laughed so hard that she just said, yeah, let's go for it. You're being so realistically transparent that there's nothing I could say against you. And everybody fought me so hard with it. They're like, you're never going to get any sales. You're just being too random. You're being too this. And I would just continuously talk, and to the point where people would make fun of me. And anytime I said something, whether it was thought-provoking or good, people would just be like, pineapples. And to this day, that is the mascot that we had for our team. We had shirts on it that said,
that's awesome.
Had pineapples on it. Have it your way. Like kind of like Burger King.
Burger King, yeah.
That's what people call me. And it's kind of a term of endearment that you never know how you might end up getting a sale, because you relate to people. I've sold people talking to them about pancakes. I've talked to people talking about my favorite lunch meat. We had a great conversation with this guy about like Sasquatch versus Bigfoot. He bought $30,000. You wouldn't believe how many people come in and really just want to have somebody they can talk to about real things. Don't take yourself so seriously. Take your clients seriously. Respect their time, and really give them the ability to trust you. Because if you're putting up a front, and if someone says, "Hey, are you a robot on the phone?" You're not doing your job right. You're not doing your job right. I truly believe, and I guess there's one, like, I don't want to say it. I think I'll save my last thing for when we talk about the secret. But you need to stand out.
Nah, that's awesome. So hustle, hard work, plus finesse. You also talk about the success of being random, and it sounds like kind of relating to your personas, like connecting to your personas, using this randomness to kind of connect and relate and use those analogies. Like, I think it would probably depend on the different personas that you're selling to.
Oh, of course.
Like a CFO may be like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? But for, like, what were the personas that you were pitching?
That's the thing, is that there were so many. There was CFOs, CEOs.
So maybe they all loved the randomness.
And this goes to, I guess, my sales secret really would be, in order to be remarkable, you must first be rememberable.
Okay. So hold on. The sales secret is, in order to be remarkable in sales, you have to be memorable, right? Okay. And hold on. Let me kick that off for the episode. All right, everyone. Juliano Sarinelli, for this episode of the world's best sales secrets from the top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. If you had to share one thing with the audience that you could tell yourself, when you first got into sales, if you could share one thing to a new hire, if you could share one thing to have someone join the top 1%, your top sales secret, what would that be?
In order to be remarkable, you have to be memorable.
In order to be remarkable, you have to be memorable. Okay, walk us through that. What does that mean?
Whether that means, like I talked about before, being super dynamic and being random and different. Whether that means being just so transparent that person just has to trust you, or really cultivating an attitude of challenge. I think, to me, that first part really resonates with all those. You can be memorable to different people in different ways. But whether it's talking about pineapples or letting a person know that, hey, what the heck do you have to lose? Trust me. Um, I can guarantee you that I don't know as much about your business as you do. I know that for a surety. Now, I'm not going to go and pretend that I do, but I'd like to think that someone as knowledgeable as yourself could benefit from a 10-minute to 20-minute conversation, because what do you have to lose? I like to think that you're the kind of person that would say knowledge is power. So imagine how much more power you can have after I give you this knowledge. Being memorable means that you're going to actually give people what they want. Be transparent. Be dynamic. Talk to them about, how it feels to wake up and have 9 feet of snow. I don't know what that is like. I told a lady that I'm pretty sure in HR she doesn't need to go to work if she has 9 feet of snow. I couldn't be sure, but I feel like it should be in the Constitution.
Right. Yeah.
And she said, like, you're so funny, you're so great, I just want to jump on. And after giving her that tidbit, I said, yeah, but in reality, we'll whatever it is, we'll walk with you. We'll explore with you. This is a journey for all of us. We're doing it. I mean, take a leap of faith with me. I know it's random. It's so random to I just called you out of nowhere and asking you to take a leap of faith with me on taking this demonstration. But that's all I'm asking, is you to put your faith in me for one moment, because in trusting that I actually did enough work to look at you. I mean, it only takes 3 or 4 minutes to look at somebody on LinkedIn or like the website. It doesn't require the massive amount of work. I mean, I sometimes I think, do you remember when you used to go in the public library and look at those newsreels and you'd be sitting there?
Oh my gosh, it took forever.
Yeah, I remember one time with my mom and we looked at something and I was like, this is how people did research? Like, I mean,
I remember it way back in the day. Terrible, right?
Yeah, so it's not like that anymore. You can really research people really fast and make sure that you're actually using their time wisely. And part of that is you doing the hard work of understanding your industry. I think that you don't need to know your product as well in sales development as much as account executives do. You need to know it like a good amount. But what SDRs really need to be focused on is their industry. They need to know who is it that they're selling to, and is this going to actually benefit them? Because at the end of the day, you want them to take a look and make sure that it makes sense for them. You want to have a reputation of respect, that I'm respecting people's time. And part of that is knowing the lay of the land and be like, hey, this looks like it would be interesting to you. And it really comes down, it's about making a connection. Don't try to pretend that you have a relationship with this person.
Being memorable. So in order to be remarkable, you have to be remembered or memorable. Mm-hmm. Say it again. In order to be remarkable, you have to be memorable, right? Yeah. Okay. And it sounds like in order to be memorable, you kind of have to be authentic. You talk a lot about like just being yourself. If you can talk about pancakes and pineapples, maybe Joe can't down the street, or Sarah or Liz, because that's not them. That's you. That's the guy coming from Free Streets. What's the San Fran? Sucker Free Streets, right? Yeah, because that's you. That's you, like connecting with them, and that's you being authentic.
And I think there's one of the best advice I always give is that I truly believe there's an internal battle with everybody, being the best version of yourself versus being true to yourself. It's very hard, but that's one of those things that I always hire off persona, not experience, because you need to have that. If you don't have that, then your parents did you wrong, or you did yourself wrong by being in a place that's so sheltered and you have no idea who you are. Figure out who you are. Go through an existential crisis. I like to hire people who feel like they've been through some like existential crisis. You know who you are.
Me too.
You know what you're going to be. And I think that there's been times, and I think everybody's experienced this, where they try to give guidance to those younger than them or less experienced, and they'll say, hey, that's just not me. Well, is it not you? Or do you not want to put the hard work in to develop your own finesse? I truly believe that with hard work, you can actually build finesse, which is and I know other people might think, okay, of course that's logical. To me, that's almost like a revelation. I almost believe that they're mutually exclusive up until a point, though, that you have so much hard work that you just actually build your own character, and you build it through this. I mean, it's hard. I would just say that it's really hard to do that, and very rarely you find people who do that.
Yeah, and when you're talking to someone that you just hired, let's just say, or you're about to hire, and you want to teach them, in order to be remembered, you have to be memorable. How would you teach them to be memorable? Like, how would you
I mean, I like, there's many different things that, I mean, I believe that you got to read. You got to read a whole hell of a lot. I also believe that you have to spend half of your time reading things that are germane to yourself, your sales books, but also read things that are random. Like, please, like, read things that just interest you. Like, I bought a hunting book. I've never been hunting. I want to go, but I read the first 20 pages and
That's funny.
I already learned more tidbits than a lot of sales books.
Maybe you could apply something that you learned from the hunting book to sales development. Did you find that anything was relatable, by the way, or no?
Things the guy said, it's actually there's a Netflix show called Meat Eater. Highly recommend it. It's and this guy Steve Rinella. He's like the Mark Twain of hunting. Really interesting guy. Very well spoken. Very great author. And then the first couple pages they say, hey, always trust your gear. And I took that to trust your gear, meaning when you leave off that mountaintop, don't think that you left off that mountaintop because your shoe was peeling or your Salesforce wasn't working or Outreach or Sales Loft was bad.
All right.
Or
stop blaming those guys.
Right? And that at the end of the day, the only variable is you. And I truly believe that after reading that, it was like, wow. I mean, this guy's talking about shooting a buffalo next to the Copper River in Alaska, but I'm getting like a tech stack knowledge out of this and being like, oh my gosh, this is the way that you need to approach it. And that's the way that I've been approaching it. I want to know that at the end of the day, if I fail, it was because of me and not because of anything else. That's the only way you can get better is by pinpointing it. A lot of people have fake data. And I believe that sometimes like how you pair an AE with an SDR and you say it doesn't work. Well, you only know that pair doesn't work. You don't know if just the AE or just the SDR doesn't work. I got a lot out of it. So I would say reading a lot of different things is something impactful.
Yeah, and to that point, one of the ways that I personally did it, just because I'm so busy running Seamless.ai and doing the book tour and the speaking and all that jazz, I just picked up book summaries like Blinkist and read it for me. And like now I'm forcing myself to go through like a few books a week, book summary. Okay, I may not be able to read the whole book, but at least like I'll listen to something. I'll get through a book in 10 minutes and I'll see what I can apply to sales development, to my life, to better myself.
To me, that's a lot like the idea of triage. I think that a lot of people have this idea that kind of like if they can't do things full 100% the whole way, then there's no point of doing them in an abridged version, which I think to me is a huge loss. Because sometimes you're left only with what I call the burnt ends, right? The burnt ends are the best part, but those little bits and pieces left on the chopping block. And if I can get just 1% or 1/4% better every month at the end of my life, I'd probably be like Einstein. So it lets you know how much little pieces that we can do. If I can't read the full book, even if I can just fast read it and spin read it, just kind of go real quick, because at the end of the day, we spend so much time detoxing at the end of our day that it's really hard to go and get that extra book if you only have 3 hours or even 5 hours. Heck, I know people that have a lot of free time, but they spend so much time and effort while they're at work and while they're doing it that they need 3 hours to just zone out and just be like asleep. I get that.
Yeah.
Every incremental improvements make a huge difference, like learning an extra 2 words a day. I truly believe that if you're not a wordsmith, if you're not creating analogies and being creative with words with people, that in sales, that's your job. Your job is to use your words.
Yeah, it's funny how much sales development is like copywriting, like content writing and copywriting. You're writing email scripts, sales scripts, call scripts, phone scripts, social scripts, like all day.
Yeah. I mean,
some of the most popular sales scripts were like getting ran off by a hippo or eaten by an owl. Like some of this stuff is like, a little schlocky, but you get the point of like, it's all freaking copywriting.
One of the ones I did is that I would have, don't be afraid to go out on a limb. That's where the fruit is. And then I have a pineapple. Even though pineapples don't grow on limbs, a lot of people like it. And it was kind of a little bit tongue in cheek. And, like about knowing your audience, knowing like, hey, how far can you go to be transparent, and how much of it is like, hey, how much of it is just like there's tongue in cheek, and then there's like, I don't know what the hell you're doing. This is just so irrelevant to me. Why are you talking to me?
Yep.
Knowing your audience, being good with words. If you need to be verbose with somebody in New York, then do it. And if you need to kind of be in the vernacular with somebody, like in a logging company in the middle of the Northwest, then you have to do that. You need to acclimatize to your prospect. They don't acclimatize to you. It's you going to them. Although we might be sitting at a computer 4,000 miles away, you need to treat it like you're in the field.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in order to be remarkable, you need to be memorable in sales. You talked about you have to acclimatize, connect. Whatever that word is. I'm not pronouncing it right. You need to, you talked about reading things, reading different books, topics that help you skill up, writing. Get great at writing so that you can be memorable in your sales efforts. Mm-hmm. Any other tips to be memorable so that you can be remarkable in sales?
Have passion. I'd say, like, I always come in the office. I make sure that I'm the most passionate person there. You have to care. If you don't care,
wow, you go in and you're like, dude, I want to be the number one most passionate.
Yeah, I want to be the most passionate, whether it's being the IC or being a leader. I want to care about my people. There's a meme that goes around that says, I don't want people to love me or fear me. I want them to, be afraid of how much they love me. And I know that it gets played out, but I truly believe that if you truly care about people and you treat your teammates the same way that you treat your prospects, fully transparent, throw a bit of whimsy in there and just be like, sometimes I'll come in with a pineapple and put it at someone's desk and be like, hey, just deal with it. Just working with a pineapple now. They'll look at that and smile all day, laugh, and then get on the phone and talk to people laughing, happy people. They say happy cows are from California. Well, happy sales come from happy reps.
Yeah. It's interesting. I try to make sure, like, every day, every week, I'm remembered to, like, just thank my people, dude. Salespeople have the hardest job in the world. Just freaking appreciate them. Tell them that you appreciate them. Like, they're getting told that they're terrible or no 50,000 times a day. It's nice to hear from their manager that you love them and you appreciate them. So I appreciate that advice. That's good.
Yeah. I think a lot of people will tell you that you're not supposed to be their therapist. You're not supposed to be their friend. No, I think that you're supposed to be a theoretical general and you're supposed to be their therapist because they're doing a very intensive job that it's mind numbing. I mean, how many people have you said, like, I feel like smashing my head against a rock. What am I doing wrong? If you think that you're not supposed to be their therapist, don't do this job.
Yeah.
Thing is that you get gratification from it by letting them know, like, hey, I'm being transparent with you. I'll hold your hand. We'll do this. But at a certain point, you need to be able to get up and do it yourself. I have great relationships with some of the people that I had to let go, and we still talk to this day because it was about mostly bad timing. Hey, you don't have a year or 2 years to ramp. You got to do it. And being transparent with people will never leave people with a sour taste in their mouth. That you wanted to care about them. I believe that if I hire somebody, that as a leader, as a ruler, I truly believe that your people need to eat before you do. And that it's a huge travesty and something that's very dishonorable to be sitting, living the good life while your people are kind of dying in the ground and be like, oh gosh, things suck. You need to be there for them. So whether that means being the most present, being infectiously happy and joyful all the time, and then really making sure that you're the best. Now, sometimes people become an IC and they're the best at what they do, and then they move on to another place and they don't want to invest. No, you need to go through your own boot camp that you put other people through. You need to make sure that you're constantly sitting there thinking about how to do it. Now, maybe you don't need to get on the phones again, but you need to make sure that you're the best because you owe it to your people to be able to give them that clarity. And what is the actual crux of their position? What is it that you need to go down to? Make it simple. But if you can't do that, and all you're doing is telling me, like, yeah, just rouse the troops, and yeah, we just want you to do better, and all it is that every single meeting you have, I can't stand the meetings for the sake of meetings, just for the sake that you want to put people in the mud. I can't stand that. I truly believe that you need to respect people's time. You need to be clear with them, treat people like adults. But at the same time, you need to give them that ability to vent and the ability to truly understand what you say. You can't just throw buzzwords out. So a lot of people think that, with the random words that I say that they might be buzzwords. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it for a reason. If I'm letting people know, hey, be random, like come in the office every day and truly say to yourself, I care about what happens today, but at the same time, I kind of don't care. I care about what happens, but I'm not going to sit here and micromanage myself. I'm going to do the very best I can do. And what manifests from that is me. And I truly believe that that's the way that people need to do it. They can't sit there and over critique and over manicure themselves. Just like a top athlete, you look at the data and you bring it in. You look at the past, you project for the future, but in the moment, you trust your gut and your intuition. And part of that is just saying, hey, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. We can talk about it afterwards and we can talk about it before, but we're going to live in that moment and we're just going to say, hey, we're going to do the best we got to do. And I think that a lot of people forget that, and they'll just shove stuff down their throat or tell them 10 different things to do at the same time. Like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. And the people just get so confused. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. And then a lot of time it happens because the leaders themselves don't know what they want them to do. They know the result. And they'll scream things out for the results, but they don't actually know what they want them to do in that moment.
To even get to the results.
Yeah. And so I think that's a huge problem in leadership in multiple levels.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And I know Juliano Sarinelli, you recently, by the way, I caught you with this interview like a day after you're just leaving one big career to head to the next, man. So you're leaving Zenefits. Congrats. What's the next thing for you? And then we'll cover where people can connect with you.
Yeah, I'm going over to a company called Plastiq. It's
okay. Awesome.
I'm super excited about this company. I'm going to be the head of sales development there. They're growing rapidly. They've been in business since I think 2011. It's a fintech company. What they essentially do is allow people to be able to use their credit line for whatever they want it to be used for.
Like, what do you mean?
So the founders, started this idea when I think they were at Harvard, and they couldn't pay their tuition with their credit cards, even though they had credit, great credit.
Weird.
They had nothing on their credit, they couldn't pay for it, and they realized that there's many, many, many different things that you can't pay on credit cards, whether it be contractor payments, whether it be your taxes, whether it be tuition, whether it be buying a new business, paying a mortgage.
I never even realized that. It's like I keep thinking like, yeah, a credit card you could use for whatever, but that's a great point. No, you can't.
Yeah. And there's a huge part of America that doesn't have, and I think this is the part that I really like. Although I'm in Silicon Valley and I'm in tech, there's a huge part of the world and in our country that doesn't have massive amounts of funding like tech does, and they need to be able to use the credit that they already have. If you have $1 million line of credit, and say, maybe you can only afford $200,000 worth of product every month, but you sell out of your product every month like this, you flip it all the time.
Right.
Wouldn't it be to buy $1 million worth of product and spike your revenue 4x? Well, people have done that with Plastiq, and that's what excites me. It excites me because it allows people to do things that they want to do with their own credit. It's not applying for a new card. It's not going and doing something new. It's allowing you to have the freedom to do whatever the heck you want to do with what you already have.
Wow.
And that's what really excites me because it's something that I can get behind. That mom and pop business that sees an open storefront in front of them and that can go and buy it on their credit, because most small businesses have a really, I think, disproportionately large amount of credit compared to people. And a lot of times they can't use it for things that they actually need to use it for. So whether it be, using your miles, getting miles and getting cash back, a lot of times that, it's going to end up really like benefiting your business in the long run, or getting a loan that from your credit cards, from your bank, that's a lot better. I see so many use cases for it. And it's really the only, it's kind of one of its kind right now. And what really sold me was the culture there. Great people. I interviewed with many amazing people. A couple of them have been from Zenefits before.
Oh, cool.
I didn't know them, but they're like, hey, if you worked at that place, then we know that you're vetted. So it was great.
That's sweet, man. That's awesome. And what? So you just left a team of 30. Are you? How many team members are you tasked with hiring or growing or building or managing now?
Right now, there's only one person on the team. She just started, and
Time to scale up then.
yeah, already exceeding quota. So I mean, it's we're gonna have some good growth, but we're gonna make sure that it is, it's gonna be calculated. I make sure that I want to make sure that my people hit their number. I want to make sure that they're driven, but we don't want absolute growth for the sake of losing good people. So we're gonna do it slowly, and I think probably at the end of 2019, maybe 12, 13, 14 people, maybe 20, depends on how well we do. It's going to be an outbound model. We have all of the United States and Canada, so super excited to go and push that and really allow North America to do what the hell they want to do with their own credit.
Dude, that's awesome. I love it, man. I love it. Well, Juliano Sarinelli, thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Where can people find you today to connect, to learn more, to subscribe, to follow you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Juliano Sarinelli. Like I said, if you wanna hit me up anytime, I'd love to talk. We're gonna be looking for SDRs soon. The company is growing, or if you just want to chat, learn, I'm more than open. I'm pretty busy, but I'm always available for somebody who wants to learn anything that I have to say, or vice versa. I'm always learning as well.
Awesome, man. Well, we're thrilled to have you on the show, and thank you for joining us for Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Pick up your copy at secretsalesbook.com, secretsalesbook.com.